Get off the sidelines and take control of your financial future at www.tackletrading.com. Get in the game.
Matt Justice here for Tackle Trading to give you the market recap for Monday. And I do believe it is July 27th. Let's get right at it. There wasn't a lot of price action today, so the recap's not going to be that long. We do need to talk a little bit about gold and the dollar, but economically, there's nothing much this week in terms of the entire marketplace. It's a very, very light week economically. In fact, if you looked at the major economic reports from across the globe, there's literally only a handful of major economic reports, and none of those are that dramatic. And when you're looking at the United States economic reports, there's hardly none of those either in terms of major economic reports. So, it's going to be, in my estimation, because of this, it's going to be a little bit of a loose week in terms of driving price action. Look to have volume be really low this week because of the price action. As you can see, now back-to-back days of very low volume, and I do believe this is very concerning for this latest move back up. Obviously starting to slow its momentum right now. It's already driven off the lows at 2035 up to 2120. So really, how far is this going to go in an economic environment that there's really not a whole lot in? You're starting to see a little bit of narrow body candles here at the top end of the price movement in the S&P 500 as well. Expect for there to be a little bit of profit taking. Maybe it stays up towards the top of resistance, but there is absolutely nothing right now that if this thing does break out that I would buy it in any capacity, just given the fact that there's no economic reports. But we are in the middle of earnings season, and that certainly could have an impact. As well. In fact, there were 4 companies today that were large cap companies and above that reported earnings today. And if you'll switch this is Halliburton. Obviously, we all know what the company is. Switch this to a 15-minute chart. Reported earlier this morning before the market opened. Responded very favorably to the initial movement. However, a lot of profit taken down low. Only ended up about 73 cents or 1.83%. Does this really impact the direction of this trend? Not in my estimation. A slight positive reaction to the earnings, then profit taking. Nothing to see here in my estimation when it comes to Halliburton. Then we have Lockheed Martin, a very similar company, reported earnings here today as well. Lockheed responded fairly positive coming out of the gates this morning after they announced earnings. Up total from the close of yesterday, about 7.6 points total. Ended up only about 4 points, a little bit of profit taking after the initial reaction to the earnings. How does this impact the trend of it? Real good candle action today, up around the 205 mark. However, it's already moved from 186 up to 205. That's a big movement for something like Lockheed Martin. I don't think the earnings report is going to impact it that much. Even if it breaks out and runs to 210, I mean, it's a $200 company. Really, what's your return there? I do think, however, maybe Lockheed goes on some type of watch list for when it retraces back down the next time. Maybe that's a good little an opportunity to get into a trade at that point. But even though it had a really good reaction to the earnings report, good candle, finishes at the top end of the candle, it's still at resistance. It's already moved 20 points in its potential average yield. I think the name of the game right now on Lockheed is just to kind of wait, be a little more patient, and wait for that next retracement to a certain extent. The next was Morgan Stanley here. Obviously one of the bigger banks out there. The reaction was initially positive to the event. As you can see, it went from 425 all the way up to 41.80. That's a big movement for a $40 stock. And then even before the market opened, started coming right back down, very similar to what we saw on Halliburton and Lockheed as well. However, the cash opened at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It continued to trail down as well. And so when you're looking at this on a daily chart, if it would have maintained that price action that was having during the early morning hours, maybe that's a breakout you can get behind. But yeah, it gaps up, comes right back down. I don't know if I trust that price action. Probably a stay away for me on Morgan Stanley. And the last big dog to report earnings today came after the market close was IBM. And IBM is just getting smoked after hours right now. Initially closed today right around 173.5, all the way down to 165 already, just in the last couple hours after the market is closed. So not a lot to see there on the four earnings announcements. However, IBM with the gap down. If we see some more price action down to the downside, that might be a shortable opportunity. Crude oil today could not shrug off the beatings that it's had over the last just little while here, down off the highs of 62, breaking support levels there at 57, currently at 50.5. Gino's been talking a lot about the battle at the $50 mark. Well, we're going to see that play out tomorrow. The Iranian deal is certainly impacting the prices out there. The supply of oil and demand has been lessened as well. So, we're probably slightly bearish on oil. I still like naked puts, and I still like doing covered calls on it, because when you're thinking about that type of transaction, you're thinking about long-term, very long-term, and not short-term based. So you're always looking at lowering your cost basis, lowering your cost basis, lowering your cost basis. So for example, if you've been doing this for the last 6, 7, 8 months, and say you were buying at $18 or $19 or $20. Say you even bought at $20 here 4 or 5 months ago. If you've been writing calls against it for the last 4 or 5 months, your cost basis isn't $20. Your cost basis is going to be about $18. And through that process, you can continually lower your costs over and over and over again every single month. And that's kind of how you look about it. But if you're looking at short-term price action here, you're looking at a little bit of a slightly bearish pull here. And if it can get underneath $50, look for it to come test $44, $45 as well. The dollar's starting to gain strength right now. The crude's starting to show weakness, as well as your other commodities like gold. Oh my goodness, gold got absolutely trounced today, getting absolutely slaughtered from 1135 all the way down to about 2080 before it responded a little bit, coming back up into the 1100 mark. Now, for a long time, for the last about 4 months, I've been neutral on gold and silver and the commodities in general. However, even 3-4 years ago, I was very bearish, and I said oil can get down to $1,000 an ounce. And even a year ago, I did videos. Oil can get down to $1,000 an ounce. I started changing that opinion a little bit back into this range when we were starting to see some neutrality, and I went back more to neutral. But you're showing some tremendous weakness in gold. And you had a little bit of a mini flash crash this morning in gold, and you had a lot of turnover in Shanghai specifically, and New York. You had tremendous turnover in those two areas. A lot of unwinding of gold, literally like $1.3 billion unwinded just today as well. So for you gold bugs out there, I think it's important to add insurance position to your gold. Silver did not get beat up as bad as gold did, but even silver kind of broke your support levels right here. I still like silver a lot more than I like gold, but the commodities are getting pressured right here, and that's going to put a little bit of positive reaction to the dollar as it inched up just another again. Forex report had an absolutely killer report from last week. So that's really all we got this week in the market. Lots of earnings reports, maybe some international news, maybe not. We'll kind of see how that plays out. But lots of earnings reports, hardly no economic reports this week. Focus technically, focus on the earnings. Get out there, trade, and change your life one trade at a time. Matt Justice, Tackle Trading, I'm out.
Get off the sidelines and take control of your financial future at www.tackletrading.com. Get in the game.